Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again. I'm Thea. I'm the founder of Liftique Fitness, a boutique training service for women, and we do in-home and online training.
I'm Peter. I touch people for money. I'm a chiropractor.
God, Peter.
No, I do.
I know you do.
Yeah, special interest in fitness and lifting weights and all that jazz.
Yeah. Yes. We are both obviously deep fanatics of the exercise world and want to bring that into everybody's lives that we meet. Obviously, our everybody's lives we meet, but
which is, I mean, makes it really inconvenient for the cashier that I'm making do push-ups.
Oh yeah. I make them do
count
burpees.
Out my changes. Well, I mean,
so.
God, I'm so much nicer than you are.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I'm not nice. Yeah, trainers can't be nice.
No.
So we're here today to talk about how the spine plays a role in our training, how we bring strong backs to the table, I guess. What we do to make sure that we have, bulletproof backs. People talk about bulletproof knees all the time. So we're here today to talk about how do we translate that same level of strength into our lifts with really, really strong backs. And reason why I kind of wanted to bring this in today was because there's lots of bodybuilders who tend to get injured in very precarious ways that have nothing to do with their lifting lives, but outside of the gym, they may be extremely strong in their lifts, but find it really easy to, say, tear a ligament. And we're just kind of looking at how we treat the spine as something that moves through space and not shying away from the fact that we can't have neutral spines in everything we do. So that's what we're here to talk about today, and how to get around that, how to bring a strong back into our lives. Yeah. So we're going to talk about lots of different things. The WEC method being one of them, and I'll hand it over.
Do you want to start with WEC, or do you want to?
Sure, we can. So I am currently working for a gym that is really excited to bring this method of training into their space, and is finding it really valuable. I am newer to this method, and I do think it's quite amazing to see and to understand. I recently was certified in Landmine University, which is an offshoot of the trainings of WEC. So that training brought new ideas into my horizon about how we can become more athletic bodies. And I respect that WEC brings in the coiling method, because I find that I don't think there's quite enough of a conversation around being more of a well-rounded athletic individual. I think that a lot of what I've learned and understood in this industry is very linear. And I think we're missing huge parts of the conversation when it comes to how to produce force and what our spine can do to help us in that, and not praising stiffness and muscle growth as the be-all and end-all of how we train.
When you say stiffness, can you dive into what you mean by that a little bit more?
I mean, the basic understanding of the main heavy compound lifts and lots of other lifting methods is to be as stiff and as straight as possible. So it's how we create enough force to keep our bodies in alignment in a linear fashion. Does that summarize it a little?
So I want to dive into what. So are we talking trunk stiffness?
I think stiffness relates to every every major lift. I think it's
But
not just trunk stiffness. No, it's
so I guess like then also if we're talking about say a clean, you're talking about stiffness in the grip maybe as well, or like
I mean, clean's a little less so, right? Because it's a different kind of training modality.
Okay.
To be into kettlebell, it's much more of a flow. So I wouldn't say that the same principle that I'm talking about necessarily applies. It's more of bodybuilding and heavy lifting and
like powerlifting.
Powerlifting. Yeah. We aren't here to talk about whether it's good or bad necessarily to train the spine in unconventional ways. So like one of those ways could be like training through the transverse plane instead of just like training in the frontal or whatever sagittal plane, right? Training in the transverse plane, having push and pull factors going on in our bodies simultaneously. The point of this conversation in my mind is not to argue whether these types of training are good or bad, but more so what is their utility? What is the research like behind them? How can they be useful for rehab? And how do we implement them? Because I personally, I see the logic very clearly, and I see this too with regards to the people that I work with, that to do, like, yes, it's fun to implement kettlebell flows and different movements into people that I train with, into their lives. But I see how they could be, their lives, athletically speaking, could be vastly improved by a training style like this, because I do think that it's looking at the whole frame and what kind of capacity we have for force production. And I think that reaction, being able to react faster to stimulus in your environment is going to help you achieve your fitness goals in the gym, but also just carry over into your life. So, yeah.
Okay. I like the idea of decreasing reaction time. Mm-hmm. That sounds real, like, especially in the context of something like fall prevention. Like that's a really useful thing. How is that like? So when you were showing me videos of Kettlebell University before, Landmine University.
Yes, which is I just got certified with Landmine University Canada. They're just opened a branch in Canada and have been all over the States for quite some time. Yeah.
So let's actually just recut and we can just talk about
sure.
So when you showed me videos of Landmine,
crazy stuff that they're doing.
When you showed me videos of Landmine University before, there was a lot of, I think, coiling is a somewhat apt description. Where you have athletes shortening on one side and lengthening on the other and trying to produce tension through that system.
Yes, that's the bedrock of it, yeah.
And if you were doing that training with someone who you wanted to increase the reaction time or reactivity of, would you be asking them to like switch between positions really quickly? Is there a speed component?
Eventually, I would want to get there, but we touched on this before while we were kind of prepping for this video and saying that there's a lot of clients that just the learning curve that it would take to get to them to the point where they can switch fluidly in those positions holding a landmine while being in forward intent, which is a big part of this training philosophy, which basically just means your force is forward, and Webb argues that this is how we run and how we walk. So this is the ideal natural capacity of the human body, and we should work within that, not against it, basically. But yeah, just to get a lot of my clients even remotely into those positions and understanding how to move through those, it would take a long time. So it would be an investment. And I'm wondering too, like, is it the investment that I make with most people? Maybe it's just a straight no. Maybe it's right, because I think most people would struggle a lot with all of these movements and with the complexes that come about. But I don't think that makes it not a. I don't think that it's an unachievable goal, and I don't think that makes it unnecessary to try to attain that level of athleticism with Gen Pop. Everyday people shouldn't say that probably.
I mean, Gen Pop's fine. I don't like. It's very medical, but yeah.
With most people in the gym.
With folks.
With the peeps that we work with. Anyways.
Really resisting the urge to say homies.
My
So, I'd love to know a little bit more about your perspective of what have you gained in your own practice from practicing this modality?
Well, I mean, I'll say that I just recently got certified, so it's not that I have no idea what I'm doing, but like almost have no idea what I'm doing.
You've been practicing some of this. Like, there was something that drew you to it.
What drew me to it was the idea of understanding training through rotation, and understanding how to like to build a nervous system that is primed for athleticism, and like frankly to as a trainer to be practicing the same level of lifting for myself and for my people, my homies. I just there's an aspect of like you reach a point where there has to be more out there. I have to be able to do more for my people than just understand them how, like, teach them how to like lift heavy and like tax them in that way. I don't think that's enough at all, actually. I think it's beautiful, and I fell in love with exercise because of lift. I mean, before that too, but like really changed my life was understanding how to really genuinely lift, and like gain a bunch of muscle and get really strong in those ways. Like that was the passion, the initial passion, but like it far reaches beyond that for me. I want to understand everything there is to know about the human body, and I know I'll never get there. None of us will, but I'm like damned if I'm not going to try. So like for me to implement that into my life and getting that certification, it's more about rotation for me, because I see a lot of like limitations when it comes to just teaching people how to lift. I feel like I know something's missing, and I think that it can be counterproductive to just teach our bodies how to linearly move. You know, like imagine if we were to cut. It's just, to me, it's like you're missing so much of the story behind getting into shape. That's what it is for me, I think. Yeah.
I find this a little challenging.
Sure.
Because I'm a huge fan of linear movement. And I guess I'm also a huge fan of the simplicity of weight training. Like, I think there's something about it to me that I am moving a thing from here to here, and it's going to be really hard. And there is a lot that I have to do to move it from here to here.
For sure. Yeah.
In the way that I would like.
Very technical thing to do, yes.
In that I have to stabilize, and I have to integrate a whole bunch of different systems, and I have to breathe, and I have to be present with myself, and like all of those things. Have you noticed, like, when you have incorporated more of this into your practice, do you notice that you feel less sore? Do you notice that you have greater mobility in your day-to-day life?
I mean, I haven't practiced enough of the if we're talking about the landmine cert, then I haven't practiced enough to know, but like I would argue that kettlebell really helps me do that.
Sure.
And I do practice a fair bit of kettlebell in my own training, and absolutely, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I don't know. I think that we can set ourselves up for not the greatest success if we are just lifting in linear planes. Like I think that it's a beautiful way to train. I just think that getting stuck in like going from point A to point B in those ways only teaches our bodies how to move in those ways. And I think that I've seen people only do that, and like this is for people who do that really intensely for many years, that they do tend to get injured, and they tend to be really immobile in their own bodies. And like these are things that I've witnessed with very athletic people throughout my career. So I don't think that that's what the neurological system was meant to do. I think there's way more to having an integrated neurological system that's healthy and can react to external forces and like move in different ways than just lifting weights allows us to do. I feel like it teaches us almost, it's just inconclusive, and maybe some bad habits in there too, if you're not actively utilizing mobility in your own routines. Like, I'm a big fan of Pilates. I know for a fact that, like, yes, with kettlebell, with Pilates, there's gaps that I'm filling in my own life. I could never fill those with heavy deadlifts or squats. It wouldn't happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, you covered a lot there.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
I tend to ramble.
It's all good. I
Yeah.
feel like I have responses to each thing. I have an objection to the idea that weight training isn't functional.
I did not say
Or
that.
No,
I said
I know, but
strictly weightlifting for many years could be dysfunctional in ways.
yeah, sure, but I think there's a broader discussion that's happening where I think there are people who are like, there are these functional movements and then there are these not functional movements, or there are these
Yeah.
and I think that's a false dichotomy.
Okay, break that down.
When I am weight training, when I am teaching my body how to do a deadlift, when I'm doing farmer's carries, when I'm doing walking lunges, I can feel the way that these movements make me a better runner. I can have two of my best friends fall off the edge of a cliff, and that I can reach below the level of that cliff and grab them by each hand and be able to pull their weight up 4 times. Like, I'm probably not going to hurt my back lifting up a bag of groceries.
But you would be lifting and you would be in flexion. So anyways, whatever.
like-
Please continue with the metaphor. I'm sorry.
Like, hamstring flexibility wise, like I can get
Yeah,
it,
right,
I can get into a negative.
Sure.
And also, I think the real talk of this is that very frequently you will see athletes who are doing their maximal lift producing, like, they're going to have spinal flexion.
Yes.
And they're going to recruit their erectors
Right.
to be able to lift that 20,
Totally.
30 pounds more that lets them win a
Right.
championship.
So this is where we go like,
Is that health promoting? I'm going to
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say probably not.
but is it not health promoting? And it's so similar to the aspect of idea of rotation. Like, do we need to add this at all if it's kind of already present in major compound lifts like this?
So
Right?
so that's kind of my take
Yeah.
is that there's a lot more complexity happening behind the scenes than you might be perceiving.
Maybe.
In that the way that your hips can posteriorly translate in a hip hinge to do a deadlift requires external rotation and abduction.
Yeah.
So we're already moving outside of the sagittal plane.
Yeah, I don't know.
We are.
I guess.
We
But
can
you
we can
see
argue
where
that
I'm saying I
we
don't
can argue that you're not moving as much as you would be doing other movements.
And well, we could argue that like those wouldn't create the same adaptations as fully taking on a rotational aspect in your training. That's
Yeah.
more so where we would be arguing.
So and I think that for me, I think it is accurate and appropriate to say that different activities condition us differently. And that if someone had a need to generate rotational force for their
Sport,
occupation,
whatever.
for their sport,
Yeah. Sport specific being maybe its own little rabbit hole
Yeah.
eventually,
Well,
sure.
well, I think more like my challenge with. So there are two things that are broadly speaking true. One thing that is true is that you cannot rotate the trunk without adding compression.
Okay.
Like necessarily you can't. Like the force vectors are such that if you turn on your obliques, it's a compressive force, which can irritate spines, and spines have a capacity for it.
Okay. See, I wouldn't have been thinking this along these lines necessarily, right? Yeah.
The second
Okay.
the second thing that is true
Yeah.
is that the rotational demands of most sports are elastic, not yeah, why word do you escape me now?
You got this, man.
The rotational demands of most sports
Yeah.
are
Elastic.
elastic and not concentric.
Okay.
So when you think about force production,
Yeah.
elastic force is the hallmark of throwing. You cannot produce the same amount of force concentrically than you can generate elastically. And the way that you generate elastic force, so if you were to biomechanically describe a throw,
Okay.
you are moving a segment that is closer to the ground in a way that generates an elastic stretch on a segment that is above it. And then watching that go up and up and up. So if you're imagining a baseball throw, the pitcher drives their front leg forward, and you'll see that there's a massive amount of rotation through their trunk.
Which is a coil, right? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Then you will see that trunk rotation move forward,
Yeah.
which will put the maximum amount of stretch on their shoulder complex. And then you'll see the shoulder complex move forward, and that's the thing that creates the speed
Yeah.
that you want inside of an athletic movement.
Got it. Yeah.
And you'll see the same thing in javelin, you'll see the same thing in tennis, you'll see the same thing in boxing, you'll see the same thing in judo. Like a throw is a throw is a throw is a throw.
Yeah.
Golf,
Yeah.
dealer's choice. Like
Sure.
anything where you're projecting force.
Yeah.
If you're training these muscles to be an elastic band,
Yep.
aren't anti-rotational exercises more likely to, isn't producing stiffness the goal?
Well, I don't know. I think there's supposed to be stiffness and length, and there
Yeah.
is in those coils, right? But continue with where was that going to go? So if you were to make the argument against the Weck method, kind of
Yeah.
to say okay, we don't need to actually do all that. That's too much. It happens anyway. If we need the force production, let's do the anti-rotation. Why?
Why do anti-rotation as opposed to
No,
rotation?
why? Yeah, as opposed to the coiling method.
So I will say that my philosophical framework.
Can you also just break down anti-rotation before
Yeah,
you
sure.
dive into
Yeah,
that?
so anti-rotational exercises could be anything from a lunge with an offset weight, could be a marching kettlebell with one arm with an overhead, a front rack, or a single arm position, so like a suitcase carry.
Break down why that's do the definitional thing for us.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So the work of an anti-rotational exercise is that you are producing a force that would cause your trunk to twist, and you are stopping that from happening in the movement.
Right.
So you're resisting an external rotation moment that's being put upon the spine. And moment, it's physics.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to explain it more than just say
No,
physics.
that's fine. Okay, so
Yeah.
so Peter's arguing that anti-rotation should and could take the place of coiling. Now I want to
Yeah.
understand why.
There are much less spinal forces that are generated in in these anti-rotational movements. Um, this is tough because I think there is, in the acute phase, so if someone comes in to my office and they have acute low back pain,
Yeah.
the goal is to create a bubble of safe spinal movement, like non-provocative spinal movement,
Yeah.
that then expands.
Because like part of it is the fear, right? That's part of the rehab journey.
Certainly as
Yeah.
things become more chronic. So if you're talking about someone who's had the pain for longer, I think in the short term, sometimes that fear can be quite congruent and appropriate.
Okay, fair.
You know, like, hey, if you have a fully herniated disc, if it's pressing on a nerve, if every time you bend your spine forward, it causes you shooting pain down your leg that reverberates over the course of the next half hour, you have an interest in making sure that you're not further provoking these tissues.
Well, yeah, that makes
So-
sense.
So I think there's this idea of we create that safe bubble of movement that we then work on expanding. And the easiest way to create that safe bubble of movement is to make it so that the spine doesn't really move very much.
Little, incremental, yeah.
And then slowly, incrementally. So, and certainly like doesn't move very much under load. And certainly doesn't move very much. And so I think one of the challenges of, and this is especially true in a population of people who has more chronic low back pain, is
Our population very much is, yeah.
yeah, I did a presentation of this at a doctor's office a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's like the point prevalence of it is insanely high.
Do you want to talk about the stats for a second? I'm curious. We can dive back into
so
what
like
you're saying
low back
later.
pain is the leading cause of disability in the world.
Oh, crazy.
And it has been since, oh God, 96.
Man.
I don't quote me on that. I think I'm actually wrong about that
Right.
number. I could look it up. It's in my
Yeah,
presentation.
whatever, it's fine. Yeah.
But it's been like low back pain has been the leading cause of disability for a very long time. And this is, I'm going to take a jump back to way early in our conversation.
Let's do it.
I think that you hear about the athlete who bent over and picked up their child and put out their back the same way you hear about terrible root canals.
A little bit more prevalent than or just
because the athlete that goes through their entire life without any pain is unremarkable. Like, they're a fit person. There isn't anything that should go wrong with
Right.
their spine, and so it's like it's a counterfactual thing. It feels very like, aha, maybe this is. And I think the baseline injury rate for low backs is really high. And you hear about the people in your life who blow out a rotator cuff,
yeah.
or who get tennis elbow, or who get... The people in your life who you hear that most from are the people who are moving, not because the injury rate for these people is higher than it is baseline, but because it affects their lives a lot more. Right? Like, you have this athlete who used to be able to do a thing. They used to be able to overhead press. They used to be able to carry all of this weight. And now this thing that was their identity is gone. And they have to rehab themselves. That person talks about it more than the person who isn't as active. And I think when you compare the baseline injury risk, like, this is a sport specific thing. So if you're talking about the injury risk of concussions for like people walking through life, boxing is a lot more concussion promoting
Yeah.
than being a normal person. We've talked about the relative injury risk. So you've heard the old wives' tale, like, you shouldn't run, it's bad for your knees.
Yeah.
But when we look at a conglomeration of data, we see that runners actually have lower rates of knee arthritis than the general population. And that's tough to parse
Yeah.
because we don't know if people who have genetically good knees are more likely to run than people who don't.
Right.
So this doesn't mean that running is protective.
There's always that X factor in research, and it can be really, there's a lot of that stuff that I was looking at with WEC where it was like, yeah, because who knows, because nobody knows this X factor right here.
Yeah.
And that seems like it's big in physiology and all of these different disciplines, right?
And I think that's the thing that always makes me really reluctant to... There are things that we can give advice on with a ton of clarity.
Grains of salt.
And this and this thing in particular, like talking about spinal coiling versus conventional weightlifting versus... I don't have a sense that there is evidence that shows an increased risk of these injuries with weight training. We have some biomechanical evidence that suggests that there's an increased level of strain on certain tissues. We have like evidence from professionals in the field who, like surgeons who see athletes who have a certain thing, and so they have a sense of who's likely to come into their office to do a shoulder repair or do whatever else. So you have those kind of like professional conglomerations of idea.
And those end up as statistics, yeah.
Yeah, we have occupational health and safety data. But there's not such a clear... What this makes me think about, in the 70s, 80s, the American Cardiovascular Association, let's actually put the actual name of the thing, made a recommendation to like not eat more than a certain number of eggs per day. At this point, cholesterol had been really firmly shown as a thing that was atherosclerotic.
Yeah.
And these doctors, with the very best of intentions, said we shouldn't make people eat eggs.
Yeah.
We should limit the amount that you're taking in.
The cholesterol wasn't
so it
related
turns out,
to the consumption of eggs.
Turns out turns out eating cholesterol does not correlate with increasing the levels of cholesterol that are bad for
I read this when I was researching nutrition a while back. Yes, I remember that.
And so I understand that there's part of, especially in this world where we are starting to understand that things are a lot more complex than single molecules, that we have to, like, I understand that it is my responsibility to try to give advice in a way that's really well supported by the data that we have.
Right.
Because I worry that there's part of the overgiving of advice, like institutional overgiving of advice, that has really eroded trust in research, what research says. And I'm sort of like, is research perfect? Hell no. Do we need to do more of it? Absolutely. That's the nature of the beast. Like, we need to learn more and get better at things.
Yeah.
And when we clearly communicate the findings of research, I have a sense that, one, it's confusing public health messaging.
Well, it's also just like,
Which is tough.
It's inconclusive data. One aspect of a very complex, nuanced thing could be studied into the ground, could have correlative findings, and could not be conclusive, right? Like, look at, I hate to say it, but like, look at the Advil stuff in the States right now. Like, it's one thing to show how research is presented, but to call that evidence conclusive and to kind of promulgate it as such is not really what we want to do as
Bonus
professionals.
Points for promulgate.
Thanks, dude.
Hell of a word.
Love that word.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever used it.
Oh my God, you got to start.
Do I have to promulgate it?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Promulgate the hell of it.
All
also
right.
say it 5 times fast.
I will not.
Aw, damn it. Okay.
So, yeah, I actually don't know. I'm like, I now have to go read about the
Advil stuff? Oh,
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah.
Have fun. Have fun with that.
We'll do.
Yeah.
So, I guess to go back to the more
Relates
like...
to the autism stuff that's going on down there, by the way.
Oh, great.
Yeah, totally.
Love that.
It's awesome.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So to go back to this like where I see the strongest role for this kind of work in a rehab setting is with a really motivated population that craves challenge, but maybe can't tolerate load.
Yeah. So how can this help us tolerate load? Can we go into that first?
Well, I think through the mechanisms of exercise, right? Like if you're doing this loaded dynamic work, so if you're doing this, like practicing this forward posture, and you're gathering up the landmine on your shoulder, and you're progressively overloading that movement as you become more competent, as you can generate force more quickly in it, as you can maintain the balance and the coordination.
Yep.
That strikes me as a way that you can minimally load or like, if you compare it to other activity, maybe less cardiovascular load, maybe less muscular and systemic fatigue, and maybe a ton of neurological fatigue.
Yeah, right. From that perspective, it's a net win as long as you don't leave out the core principles of training that we're both a huge fan of, right?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, for sure.
Right? Okay, so I just want to read something really quickly. Stuart McGill has claimed in studies that repetitive flexion is basically bad. And some of these tests related to animal testing. So there's an argument going around that that's not applicable actually to humans. And then recent studies of cyclists with a regimen for over 5 years with around like 3 miles per week under their belt produces better tissue quality in terms of hydration, disc height, and stronger nuclei. And so, yeah, being the case, and where studies are showing things right now, and the fact that like neutral spines in and of themselves are impossible to come by, and that has been asserted through McGill, is just an interesting place to be sitting in this world that we're in right now. And I just think it's fascinating. So
Can I contextualize that a little bit?
Please, yes.
So the research that I'm unfamiliar with the cyclist research. I'm excited to go read a bit about that.
Bellamy.
Bellamy? Okay, great.
Anyways, I'll tell you later.
Great. Love reading new things.
Okay.
So when I look at the McGill literature that looks at, so it's pig spine based, and basically
Yes.
what you're doing is you're flexing a pig spine under varying loads.
Okay.
And in all of these like pig spines and the pig spines are removed from the body. They don't have a muscular component that are resisting shear
Cute.
forces. And you're sort of just like, you're flexing this over and over again until the disc pops. And the question is,
right.
how many spinal flexions do you get at what load?
Okay.
And so like a pig spine under minimal load that you just kind of flex freely gets something like 80,000 flexions.
It's a lot of flexions. Also, what did they load it with?
I think like weight at the end of a lever. So it's just flex under increasing forces.
Right.
And then as you increase the amount of force, you basically get less and less flexions before the area tears.
But did it tear in like multiple places in the spine, or
It usually tears in one place.
one place?
Yeah, and that's sort of what we notice happens in humans too. Like when a human disc herniates, it tends to tear in one location. It'll tend to tear off to the side. There are basically big spinal ligaments at a bunch of different places on the disc that reinforce it. So the areas where the disc tends to herniate are areas where you don't have those spinal ligaments.
Don't have spinal ligaments. Oh, okay.
That
so
support it.
there's less
So-
protection innately already?
Yeah, well, and the disc isn't going to herniate through the ligament that goes all the way along the front of your spine because that thing's thick as hell.
Okay.
So it's going to like herniate backwards.
Having a hard time picturing this. Maybe we can
I should have brought my spine over.
visualize somehow.
Yeah, but
it's okay.
but basically like there are places where the disc is more likely to tear.
Yeah.
And usually it'll tear on one side
Yeah.
or right in the center.
So back to pig spines and
So
McGill.
back to pig spines. The reason that it is reasonable to believe that these findings are generalizable to humans
Right.
is that we know that discs have a fixed regenerative capacity. That discs aren't load-sensitive tissues in the way that muscles and tendons are.
Right. Oh, we were just talking about this
Yeah.
earlier. Yeah.
So, they don't have a high fibrocyte concentration.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be the same kind of remodeling that we see in tendons that happens in discs. There is no blood supply. There is no innervation.
Colloquially, to break that down for the audience, like that
So
just
there
basically
is-
means there's very little ability to repair.
There's no avenue to bring in nutrients and repair
Yeah.
structures.
Yeah.
There's maybe some stuff that happens at the end plates of the vertebrae. So the spine bones at the bottom and the top of the disc might have some amount of nutrient transfer into the disc itself, but it's not like, again, the way you do this in the rest of
Minimal.
the way you do this in the rest of the body is with blood. It's sort of the same reason that tendons and ligaments tend to heal very slow.
Hemoglobin specifically, or
Just all of the things that blood brings with it.
okay.
So blood has its
Oxygen.
oxygen, energy, the removal of debris. Blood's good.
Okay.
You
I
want-
just reacted to the word debris in the body because it's not something that I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
Well, so byproducts of. So if you imagine your muscles when they're working really hard, they are not just using energy, but they're also producing waste products. Your blood conveniently picks up those waste products.
Is it really proper to call that debris though? Like, is that a real terminology that we would use?
So if there's damage, absolutely there's debris.
Okay.
So you have cell walls, you'll have.
Just gonna steer it again.
Damage.
Back
Yeah, sure.
to pig spines.
Sure.
Okay. So we don't regenerate discs.
So we don't. So just don't.
It might be possible with stem cells one day, but right now we don't.
Or there's a finite amount of regeneration that we know that discs are
Okay.
capable of.
I'm getting a picture of why this seems applicable to humans. Yeah, I don't yeah, maybe maybe it's also not the best way to describe human spines in terms of conclusivity and in terms of flexion, right? Like,
Well, I think you can't ethically do that study in humans.
I mean, maybe not, but there's still
Definitely
there's still a disparity, right? We're still not looking at the same spine, so
So I'm going to argue that, my sense is that this is a really important data point.
yeah, I'm getting I mean,
we know that there
at
is
least it
just
could be.
it's just like we know there's a fixed capacity for a thing. And there's no reason to believe that it wouldn't be fixed.
But there is, because I mean the contrast with the cyclist, right? Anyways, I think this is a really important.
Well, sure. I'm
point to
excited to read that study.
Yeah. But neither thing is conclusive. They're both again
Yeah,
what we were saying before. It's
Yeah,
not really we're not landing anywhere hard and fast to do with this, but
Well, I
it's
think
just interesting to talk about what kind of capacity there really is for flexion, and if maybe we don't want to get stuck in a black and white understanding of it just yet.
Well, I think the way I understand this right now is there is a preponderance of data. We have occupational health and safety data, we have the McGill-based research that gives us the sense that there is a certain amount of disc injury that is somewhat inevitable in a human population that lives for long enough. This is a thing that's going to happen. This thing has an anatomical limit.
Mm-hmm.
I think where, contextually, I think it's really important to describe that most people, after a disc herniation, with no additional, no need for surgery, no need for any advanced care, I would recommend some amount of, physiotherapy and intervention is good because it'll make the person more comfortable and their suffering matters. But most people, after 2 years of having this type of injury, will have a functionally normal spine. Mm-hmm. They're going to. So the question isn't how much tolerance does a disc have in that once the disc herniates, you die. are there things that we can do to increase the longevity of this tissue? And is thinking about loaded flexion as a component of this important? Because I think there is very clear data that loaded flexion is, as you increase the load and as you increase the flexion, more and more demanding on discs.
Right. But it could also be beneficial before that point, right? And it's inconclusive data at this stage.
Sure.
Summarizing what the modality is good for, what coiling is good for, what training through flexion is good for, any type of flexion, lateral, anything.
Yeah. So I think probably good for increasing movement tolerance. So if there is a movement that doesn't feel good for someone while they are training or while they are going through life, doing a version of that movement. So say twisting doesn't feel so good.
Yeah.
Doing a twisting movement that isn't provocative and then progressively overloading that twisting movement by either adding range of motion or load.
Yeah, so if you're in pain in that specific area, you do eventually need to build tolerance in that area. So you could do something like if it is a rotational movement that doesn't feel good, then you could do that movement with a kettlebell. Let's say you could add to it. You could make it like a little bit more locomotive, but you wouldn't necessarily need to.
Sure. Yeah.
As long as you are kind of making sure that movement gets less painful by building strength.
So, to be clear, the movement while the person is doing it shouldn't be painful. So we aren't training resilience by putting a person into painful positions and then asking them to hold them. We're training resilience by putting the person through non-painful positions and then progressing them appropriately.
Non-painful positions that are still going to
that would have been pain provoking
in the acute phase, probably,
or under a certain amount of load. Or so like a big part of the goal of rehab is to figure out what amount of like tissue stimulation a person can tolerate. So at the very beginning phase of someone's low back rehab, they might only be capable of, instead of doing a bird dog, doing a quadruped shoulder tap. That might be enough neurological stimulation that if they move their arm and leg at the same time, it provokes their symptoms.
Because you're still holding your low back in that place,
like, and you're still balancing against external forces.
Yeah, and going through a little bit of a pelvic tilt too. You could potentially like put a weight on that person's back. Maybe that would help the threshold, right?
By way of producing extra stability?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's like finding the appropriate regression and then progressing from there is a big part of...
Yeah, which exercise selection comes into play there. But again, just to kind of emphasize something interesting here too, it's not necessarily locomotive that we need to do that with, right? Like we can regress somebody's pain levels by making them stronger, and making them stronger doesn't have to be going through space in that motion, even though that might be something, an added benefit too. Like if they're doing that in life, that might translate really well. We don't have to essentially like be too athletic about it. It might be unaccessible for certain people during rehab, and B, like not completely necessary. So
sure, because you're also looking for the efficiency of a human being who wants to do as little as possible to get as much as they can.
Yeah.
The other space where I think this type of work might be valuable is on a trainer or clinician's discernment. So I know that I have patients where when I watch them perform a certain physical activity, I will look and be like, man, I wish they had more of X quality. Right? Like I wish they were able to do this a bit more explosively. Yeah. I wish this would look a bit sharper. I wish that they had a bit more awareness of their trunk so that they could feel when this is going awry. I think this is one of those things where, as a clinician or as a person who's doing trainer.
Practitioner,
Yeah. That kind of discernment of, ooh, this feels like a good fit for this person is a thing that I really trust.
Yeah.
Especially because it's a testable hypothesis.
Yeah, and who else has the discernment other than the people that study
people-
this and work with bodies all day, right?
The people who do this work.
Yeah.
So I think those are the primary use cases that I imagine. And we did talk about, so we talked about like in a rehab perspective where, and then I think also during a deload.
Yeah.
So
Love that idea.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I think that this work that focuses on instability or in loading tissue through ranges of motion that maybe aren't specific to muscles but are rather specific to systems, or functional movement writ large. These movements tend to be less cardiovascularly demanding, tend to be less musculoskeletally demanding, because they're so neurologically engaging.
So tell us why it's not very cardiovascularly engaging. Let's start there.
So I'm going to be really nerdy about this, and I'm so sorry.
Go for it.
So if you want to measure work, like the amount of work that someone does, you are measuring the amount of weight that's moved
Yeah.
over a distance. So it's just like how much weight has moved over how much distance is a measurement of how much work has been done. And the work is measured in joules. So if you're trying to figure out athletically, like how many calories are you using, how much are you taxing your available cardiovascular system resources, the amount of work that one is doing is a really good predictor of this. Running a whole ass human body that's going to weigh somewhere between like 120 to say however many pounds over a distance is going to be more weight over more distance than the amount of room this levered kettlebell or landmine or weight will be. Like the things that are cardiovascularly challenging, like when you think about exercises that people think about as being cardiovascular, when you think about like cycling or you think about,
I guess.
there's more work done over time in these activities.
Sure. Yeah, I don't really want to go down the road of just like purely thinking of calories. I don't think that, anyways. I think there's maybe a different conversation that can be put here to advocate for explosive movement. In terms of like running longer distances and doing things that way. But yeah.
But I think like when you're talking about that kind of more explosive activity, so you're talking about like say doing interval training, or you're talking about
right. So yeah. Where I was going, yeah.
Which sure, like and I think that this is like, is this good for the energy systems that are involved in XYZ? Absolutely.
Right.
And if you look at the amount of work per unit time that you do, the work per unit time goes up. So like that's, if you're thinking about what that would be in terms of measurement, that's wattage. So if I imagine most people have used an erg, and so they've been able to see their wattage when they're rowing. Sprinting has a much higher wattage, and consuming that energy faster is definitely good. And if you looked at someone who was, say, doing an Olympic weightlifting activity, they are going to produce just an insane amount of wattage while not doing very much work. So they'll have a ton of power, and like that's an independent thing that you can train. So if we wanted to say, instead of saying cardiovascular fitness, we could say, we could break it up into the different energy systems, where you have kind of like the anaerobic, like sort of the creatine, phosphocreatine system, and then you have the anaerobic glycolytic system where you're burning just sugar. And so you have like things that last less than 10 seconds, things that last somewhere between like 10 seconds and 2 minutes, things that last anything over that. So you have all these different energy systems, which you then use in combination during a lot of events.
Yep.
right? So so you could think about each of those energy systems as an individual training capacity.
Sure.
Because like you wouldn't want a sprinter to be doing a lot of cardiovascular work, even though, man, is their heart working really hard during the 10 seconds that they're sprinting.
Okay, so I've always seen that as cardiovascular, but fair.
But
Fair distinction, yeah.
Yeah, and so you could imagine wattage being the variable, with more and more, with the more wattage something uses over a longer period of time being the thing that makes it cardiovascular.
Okay, let's
like
talk
more or
about
less
why
cardiovascular.
it's not hypertrophic.
Well, you are doing some amount of end range loading,
Yep.
it looked like,
But not a lot, though.
but not a lot.
Yeah.
Because well, especially if
It
you're
would be more akin to that wattage-based, like...
if
Yeah.
if you're taking a bar from a chambered position, like that chambered position might be an end range load for a lot of people. You're probably not controlling the eccentric
Exactly.
in the same way because
Yep.
you're focused on being explosive.
Yep, and the concentric in itself is explosive as well, so it kind of takes out both hypertrophic aspects, in my opinion. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I think, and also you're just using less load, and you're probably not the system that is fatiguing first is probably more the neurological system than it is the muscular system or
Absolutely.
the cardiovascular system than it is. And
Okay.
like generally speaking, if you want the maximum amount of hypertrophy, you want the system that fatigues the fastest.
But also
to
is
not-
capable of carrying the max amount of load too, which you're not capable of doing that in those very compromised positions. Just not possible.
Sure, yeah,
right?
you're
Like
not
you're
stable
moving an
enough.
object through space in a bunch of different positions. It just wouldn't work. Okay, so let's talk about your injury history and how you used non-conventional, maybe let's say, training methods that utilize the spine in different modalities to get through your rehab process.
Yeah, and I think so. I have had spine injuries. It's tough for me for my spine injuries. Most of the work that I did was McGill Big 3 work. So was progressive stabilization of my spine over, and I can tell you that going from being someone who trained and wasn't doing a lot of side plank, wasn't doing a lot of bird dog, wasn't doing a lot of glute bridges, the integration of that sort of spinal stiffness really helped me in terms of my ability to lift weights and be comfortable. I was also doing yoga at the same time.
Yeah, I was
And-
gonna say Pilates. It's like so akin to that, the types of like
Yeah.
crossover that it can give you in training into
Yes.
what you're capable of doing with heavy lifts.
Yeah, and so I think, and then I've done my fair share of, because I've had shoulder injuries and shin injuries, I've done my fair share of bottoms up kettlebell work, sort of work where you're intentionally creating instability in the system and learning how to stiffen yourself against it, like learning how to create dynamic stability
Right.
whilst you're lifting. And I can, like, a whole bunch of really dumb runnerly rehab. So like heel elevated Bulgarian split squat and a TRX springs, like leg springs, to just practice going into that deep lunge position and driving up to help increase my hip, knee, and ankle stability so that my shin was a little less loaded while I was running.
A little bit of reaction in there too, right?
Yeah, probably.
Training that, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think I have a sense that at certain points in my training journey, this work has been really valuable. And I think that I really like using bottoms-up kettlebell as a training tool with my patients who can't quite figure out the biomechanics of a press very well, because the way that the kettlebell forces them to be is about the thing that I want them to do. And so it's a training tool that creates direct feedback.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love it when training tools do this, are task
roadmap
are like
to-
task dependent.
Tax dependent.
Where
Okay.
where it's like, hey, if you want to press well, these are the positions that you need to be able to hit
Yeah.
comfortably and competently.
It's forcing proper form by means of its instability in a sense.
Yeah,
Which I'm
al-
sure
and also
Weck would argue that's what the Bosu ball does as well, right? Like, yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
I'm-
kind of a
I'm sure he
similar
would.
ethos. Yeah.
But I think again, I'm not taking this as a broad swath and applying it to all training.
No,
I'm saying,
yeah.
hey, when there's a deficit that we have noticed, that's when we do it. Or if we're working on, like if I was teaching a bench press class, where the goal of the class was to develop the safest, most comfortable, most powerful bench press you possibly could, I would probably include, there's a really great banded abduction bottoms up kettlebell press on a single arm
Whoa, okay.
that is really great for setting up the motion that you're about to do.
I thought you were going to advocate for just like a banded dumbbell bench press, but
Sure, that's fine too.
no, but that sounds like a cool variation. We have to get in the gym, please.
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's like
everything's an abstraction.
I would I would
It'd be cool to be able to pick up stuff. Anyways, yes.
Yeah, so like I do that as a warm up. But like it's a warm up that is there to facilitate how you perform these other movements, which is maybe a different thing than it being it's the amuse
Prime movement.
it's the amuse bouche. It's not
Got it.
it's not the work.
Yeah. Okay. So cool. And that obviously helped you a great deal.
Yeah, and I think where I feel a little conflicted is I've heard some people that I like and respect in the fitness space talk about these movements and talk about why people are drawn to these movements.
Yeah.
And the sense that these people have is that these movements are really attractive because they don't beat you up that much. They're not that painful. They're not that loading.
I can totally see that.
If you're a competency driven
right
person,
yeah,
you get to do this thing that feels really hard, that doesn't affect your body very much, and that, you know, if you're like an athlete who loves being an athlete,
yeah,
and you're not you're in the gym because your coach is making you, because you have a sense that it's going to make you better or stronger, then so I think I understand the appeal of it.
if you love it, if it calls to you and you want that particular type of athleticism, why wouldn't you chase it?
Yeah, that's rad.
Yeah.
And I think that this is like the human body is fucking cool. It heals real good when you let it. And I wonder if I could have gotten to the same place if I had just deloaded to this non-painful weight, and instead of doing all the bottoms up stuff and instead of doing all this technique work, if I had just dropped down my load
And just did
to the space within my
stuff.
tolerance, did the conventional stuff,
I wonder, right?
didn't suffer as much,
Yeah.
I'm like, I have a strong sense that I might have.
Yeah. So the utility of this kind of like straightforward work in the gym that we're talking about, this is much more studied than the other more experimental, more athletically conditioning focused rotational work that we're talking about. It's just like scientifically it's been studied more,
Yeah.
and the understanding that it can do pretty much anything you want to get in terms of neurological adaptations. Like it's quite a strong argument, to my understanding, that can be made for just using the classics.
Yeah.
It's kind of it sometimes it all comes back to that. As a fitness professional, I've started to realize that it does a lot of the times, using like the basics are the basics for a reason. They work. And that really wasn't where I was expecting this conversation to go, because I got so excited when I heard these different professionals speak about how passionate they are about rotation, about producing force in that way, about taking the spine through unconventional methods. Like, it speaks to me. It still does. But I think that where we kind of landed today was there's a little bit of a problem with the language.
I have one. I don't know if there is one. I know
Maybe there isn't one.
I know that I perceive one.
But let's talk about it.
Yeah. So I think that exercise is so unequivocally good for a person. That having messaging in the world that there is something that is particularly dangerous about a subtype of exercise, or that there is an injury promotion risk, almost always overstates the risk, and especially that risk relative to doing nothing. Like the risk of being a sedentary human is quite substantially greater than
Right.
uh,
Than any of those
yeah, and I think
other risks that could happen when you're overly strong.
it's sort of like
about.
I don't know if I want to I don't know if I
Yeah.
want to put my eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
And I think that on one hand I understand that there's a marketplace of ideas and that there's a competitiveness inside that marketplace, and that there are going to be people who want to make
Sell
sure that the
it.
product and the course that they're selling sells as many things as possible. And I'm a good capitalist, so I buy that. Like I understand that as
Speak for yourself on that one.
I understand the desire, and I think that one of the largest reasons that so we've studied why people don't do their rehab. And we've studied reasons that people talk about not wanting to do physical fitness. And one of the biggest reasons that they don't do this work is that they're worried that they're going to get hurt. And so I guess oh wow, that just totally fell. That's okay. We'll have other things to... Yeah, so I guess good for the people who talk about other exercises being unsafe.
Of course.
Yeah. Out of batteries or?
Storage is full.
Okay. Do you want to just pivot this one over?
Yeah, I don't know how to...
Here, we'll just get some off of you.
Oh, that hasn't even been filming. Has it? Where did I stop?
Yeah, and I think so.
Maybe that...
That's when we do it. And you're not in, you're in the gym because your coach is making you, because you have a sense that
Okay,
it's
okay, it did get most of it. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So here, we'll just set this up, and this can be yours now.
Sure.
And then we'll just have a couple of shots that aren't as... are you in the frame? Great. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah. So, oh, great.
What?
It's moving. That's fine.
Yay. Okay.
That's fine. So, we were talking about, so messaging.
Yes, messaging, yeah.
Messaging that tells people that physical activity is risk increasing as opposed to risk reducing, that preys on people's already existing fears about exercises being unsafe.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm like, that's probably not a public good.
I mean, to be fair, really what I'm hearing on the messaging on a lot of this kind of training your spine in different ways idea is way more that it makes you stronger in the rest of your training. So it's not to argue for or against, it's to try to increase what you're already working on in terms of your strength goals. So but then there also is messaging that is also saying that if that's all you do, you're in trouble. And so, yeah, it's fair to take issue with that.
And I think that's my
definitely.
critique.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, hey, this type of training might be...
Yeah, I get it. Why, who says that you have to buy into the fact that, or to the idea that if you stick with that, then your body's going to be like too stiff and not athletic enough and not mobile enough. Like moving is better than not moving.
Yeah.
I hear you on that. I think that's perfectly fair as a takeaway, right? Like,
and also like
yeah.
a reasonable person could say, like, I kind of trust the individual who does weight training. So part of what makes you stiff from weight training is that you're beating the crap out of your muscles and they're sore.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that with some of the weight training that I've done, that hasn't been all that fancy, but has been focused on like moving a given tissue through its maximum range of motion.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing a lot of work on so I basically only do cambered bar bench press now. I'll do deficit Romanian deadlifts that put a ton of stretch through my hamstrings and glutes in that kind of like terminal position. Well, my back, I keep my back really stiff because that's the framework that I like to play with.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that my range of motion has increased by doing this work, and that my comfort through different ranges of motion have increased while doing this work.
Yeah.
But the day after that exercise, I'm stiff as a board because the area's pissed off because I just worked it really hard.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that it's fair to say that bodybuilders who've done nothing but that for years and years and years are stiffer than the average person, and I've seen that firsthand. And I think that's very fair. If they're not utilizing other forms of training, I'll die on that hill. I think that's true.
Well, I'm not going to try to convince you.
Well,
if you're gonna die on the hill.
I've already seen a lot of bodies in the fitness space, like,
sure,
you know, yeah.
I worry.
Also experienced a lot of this myself. So.
Sure. Well, no, and I think maybe this is where I'm coming down on it.
Yeah.
Is that one, I worry about sort of like some combination of confirmation bias and the weird population specific factors that choose people to participate in certain sports. If you go to a yoga studio, I used to work in a yoga studio for a long time. Be Hot Yoga. Y'all are great. And when I was working in that yoga studio, almost everyone in that yoga studio is like 90th percentile flexible. Like the people who are very flexible
also be damaging, right?
Sure,
Yeah.
but the people who are really flexible move towards the physical activities that they like, that feels good in their bodies, and that they can excel at.
Calls to them. Mm-hmm.
And I've talked to a bunch of people inside of that studio space who are like 70th percentile flexible, and think that they are stiff. And I'm like, no, you're more flexible than most of the people here.
Same could be applied to strength for sure. Yeah.
And so I imagine it's really hard to know what these people's baseline levels of flexibility might be.
Yeah.
And I think that this is for me the discernment piece, where if you as a person who is moving have a sense that there's a way that you could make your life better if you moved a bit differently. Like if you're someone who does weight training and you have a sense that you would feel better if you were more flexible and that you could move through your world a little easier, or you've noticed and are offended by the ways that you are limited.
Yeah.
100% work on that. Like that's totally, and like, do you want to do it by doing mobility WOD?
Yeah.
Do you want to work on it by buying a supple leopard, like becoming a supple leopard? Do you want to work on it by...
Right.
But like
yeah,
it's just like
I honestly am with you on this piece. Like, do you want to also like practice Pilates maybe, like figure out the classical method or throw in some yoga? Like I'm with you on that part. There's gaps, sure. There's gaps. Okay, if the gaps bother you and you're someone who like feels called to fill those gaps, do it.
Hell yeah.
But if you're in the part of the population where you like are learning to move and understanding like your own strength and how to like discover and unlock that, it's not that this isn't for you, it's just that like movement over sedentary lifestyle and like less worry about an injury is it's just more of a beneficial mindset to go into things with, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you have somebody that's the
guiding you,
professional
or-
that's guiding you. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, if you feel called to it, do it. You know,
Yeah.
we have a long life to live and lots of opportunities to figure all this stuff out for ourselves. I think we can pretty much
You want to call it?
yeah, leave it
Yeah.
here. Like what? I don't think there's really much else to go, like other roads to go down. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I mean, I think if what our take home is, if this thing feels appealing, go play.
Yeah.
If this thing doesn't feel appealing, and you have some good reason that's either experiential or maybe you have a person in your corner who's thinking that you might do better with a certain type of capacity, then like, yeah, I think that's cool. And I also
Yeah.
just I want people to as best they can understand that the risk of physical activity are relatively minimal.
Yeah, even
Com-
if you're just lifting heavy for the rest of your life, do that.
Especially-
it is such a beneficial thing to do. So you know,
and also that
linear plane or not, who cares?
well, and also like to your life is long point.
Yeah,
You've got time. You got time to adapt. You have time to deload and play and explore and
I'm deloading right now, and it's so weird.
yeah.
This is like the longest in 3 years that I have gone without like really moving very much. It's definitely strange. But also at the same time, speaking of like nervous system and regulation and how that changed for me in my training, like I got to a point recently where like I knew I needed a break.
Yeah,
I'm
for
still
sure.
doing Pilates, so like
Awesome.
it's not like a mesocycle or whatever type of deload, but it's more just like I'm not really lifting right
You're
now,
taking a break.
and it's the weirdest thing ever, and I have to like force myself to be like, nope, not today. It's very strange,
Yeah. And
but also it's necessary, and I have a long life ahead of me, and this is my profession. I'm gonna be doing this forever, so yeah.
And I think maybe like that's a cool use case for people. Like, hey, if you're a person that likes to strive, hey, if you're not interested in learning how not to strive for a bit, like if you're like, yeah, that's not a journey that I want to be on, cool. Like this is a way to make things hard in a way that maybe isn't so hard on your body. Neat,
Yeah.
you know?
Can be super beneficial, and there are going to be people that I walk in and I'm like, you need a better understanding of the way that your spine moves you through locomotion, and I'm going to throw some interesting coiling exercises at them in the warm-up, and we're going to do those every day. Yeah.
Or there'll be people who like just crave variety and having an
Yeah,
extra
people
tool in
get
your
bored. Yeah,
people get bored.
I get bored all the time.
Huh.
You don't?
Not so much.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, yeah, I get bored.
Yeah.
pretty frequently.
I mean,
Especially when I've like maxed out on a lift and I'm like I don't really see
you're not progressing.
I don't see a desire to in a lot of senses. Like in a back squat, like I don't need like a 200 plus pound barbell back squat.
Sure.
I don't need that. I know that I don't need that. And I mean, if someone can convince me that I can for some reason, sure, but I won't be doing that to my back anymore. I've already injured myself.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that I have a poor back squat. It means that it was an improper day to lift and whatever. I've learned my lesson since then, but like I do not need to progress my barbell back squat. I'm fine with having a very, very heavy barbell back squat for a woman my size, and like
Yeah.
it's fine.
That's right.
So once that's done, and once I've gotten most of the like the physical like aesthetic results that I want, and I'm also like my headspace isn't quite there anymore in terms of movement either. Yeah, I get bored fast, like really fast. Yeah.
on the topic of back squats, I'm like I just have a preference for not back squatting.
Yeah,
I just-
right?
I just-
Oh my god.
I just don't enjoy it that much.
A whole other conversation too.
Like, I
It's
just
like,
like-
do
I-
you need to do lift? No, God.
Yeah,
the answer is no, guys.
I like a safety bar front squat.
Yeah.
Like I love it when the weight's in front of me. Like my spine feels really good. I can push a lot of weight. My
I
technique
hate front squats, but I love that for you, man.
Yeah. I mean it takes all kinds, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, but like if you don't love a certain lift and it really just gets under your skin for whatever reason, like there are other compounds that you can put in their place. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
one friend in the industry who's constantly saying not everybody needs to do everything, and it couldn't be a more true statement. But yes, I get bored all the time, and also I think that's a large reason why I gravitated towards this, because there is no end in sight in terms of learning movements. I can learn movements forever and I will never be bored, and like I haven't been so far, because I can take my brain to a new movement space and practice, and understanding of like you were touching on breathing like earlier too, meditation, like all of these things in conjunction with each other, just like never ending space to, I like the word play, so I'm going to use that. Discover, uncover, rediscover, find different awareness in your body, or learning new ways to move. Like,
It's fun stuff.
it is. Yeah.
Cool. Go play.
Yeah. That has to be the tagline. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
it's cool.
Yeah,
Thanks
cool.
for the chat.
Thanks.
Awesome.
See you next time.